and welcome to our special edition of our program. And in this special edition, we will focus on the Emergency Arab Islamic Summit in Doha, as President Fattah el-Sisi participates on Monday in this summit, which is expected to probe the September 9th Israeli attack against the state of Qatar. The President's participation stresses Egypt's full solidarity with Qatar and its constant position in backing Arab brothers facing Israeli aggression that violates all international pacts and norms. President Sisi's speech at the summit will review Cairo's vision towards the Middle East developments and reiterate the Egyptian foreign policy consistency in support for regional security and stability. The Presidents will also hold bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the summit over fostering joint cooperation and coordination. The Emergency Arab Islamic Summit brings together members of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. It will denounce the attack that took place in Qatar and targeted Hamas leaders despite Qatari mediation efforts to seek an end to the conflict in Gaza Strip. More about the summit in the coming report.
Ahead of the Arab Islamic Summit, Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani urged the international community to reject the double standards and hold Israel accountable for its attack on Doha. Qatar Prime Minister also warned that other Israeli hostile acts threaten the region. The emergency summit, bringing together members of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, began with a meeting of foreign ministers on Sunday to discuss a draft resolution. The summit is being convened in Doha in a show of support for Qatar in the wake of the Israeli attack that targeted leaders of the Palestine movement Hamas last week. The September 9th attack, which Hamas says killed 5 of its members but not its leadership, took place despite Qatari mediation efforts to seek an end to Israeli war in the Gaza Strip. A member of Qatar internal security forces was among those killed. Qatar has accused Israel of sabotaging the chances for peace and practicing state terrorism. However, Qatari Prime Minister said that Israel's action would not stop Doha's mediation efforts with Egypt and the United States. An excerpt of the draft resolution of the summit said the brutal Israeli attack on Qatar and the continuation of Israel's hostile acts, including genocide, ethnic cleansing, starvation, siege and colonizing activities and expansion policies, threaten prospects of peace and coexistence in the region. During the nearly 2-year war in the Palestine enclave, Israeli occupation forces killed more than 64,000 Palestinian civilians, mostly women and children.
And to shed more light on the importance of this summit, we are joined over the phone by Dr. Hassan Wagib, Professor of International Relations at Al-Azhar University. Good afternoon, Dr. Hassan. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So, Dr. Hassan, what do you expect to be the key points on the agenda of the Arab Islamic Summit in Doha on Monday?
Of course, the blueprint of this summit agenda is to support the establishing of the Palestinian state.
Yes.
There is a categorical rejection of any attempt to justify Israel's aggression under any pretext. Also, there is an affirmation that these passive aggressions undermine ongoing diplomatic efforts. There should be collective diplomatic efforts and economic efforts, and also a military alliance to be deterrent enough.
So, Dr. Hassan, what actions might be taken at the summit?
Actually, I predict that this gathering has a lot of economic fortune with a country that has economic fortunes.
Yes.
Yes, we can do a lot with the economy to support each other first, and also to bolster an Arab system and to provide moves on the international arena to prevent to be preventive action from further aggressions.
So, how do you expect the strikes to affect the Qatari mediation role to secure a ceasefire in Gaza?
Yeah, this is unprecedented, and it is very brutal, and no one has already imagined that people who are mediating are to be targeted. This is very, very important and very dangerous situation, and this needs a wake-up call for the entire international community to wake up and to do some preventive steps, because what happened is outrageous.
So, sir, how do you expect the strikes to impact Hamas' stand regarding the ceasefire agreement?
You know, Hamas became lenient about agreeing on so many of the issues. Of course, they were not lucky enough to take earlier decisions, but now they are offering a very flexible situation. And you know, you cannot eradicate entirely your opponent. This is a rule of history. It's not about Hamas or any similar thing. It is about negotiating, and there is good mediators, and 3 mediators, Egypt, the Qataris, and the United States. And there should be some kind of negotiating effort dealing with this complicated situation that would transfer the entire area from this zero-sum mentality to a win-win approach. And let me say that the religiosity and the mixing religion with politics and making prophecies at the highest agenda of extremists who are really war criminals in Israel, they should put the trials from the entire international community.
So, sir, how would you comment on the change in the public opinion on Israelis recently?
Yes, I think that public opinion is extremely important, and we have seen coalition of tens of NGOs, which are the grassroots of the world population, are calling for boycotting settlements and illegal trading with them, calling for the two-state resolution, calling for implementing of UN resolutions and establishing a Palestinian state. I think this is a very, very important change, and it's growing, and it will continue to grow. And I think that if the Israelis insisted on this brutal, self-defeating strategy, they are defeating themselves and the final enemy.
So, sir, how do you see the decision by most UN Security Council members to recognize a Palestinian state?
Yes, I think we have seen a world consensus. We have seen this gathering, this assembly showed the entire world that we should fight the right justice and implement the right justice in this world.
Yes. So, sir, and how do you see the stance of the United States regarding this strike, as we all know that the United States is part of mediation efforts and is also on good relations with Qatar?
Yeah, this is very, very disastrous thing that for trust. You know, if you are in this power position like the United States, the United States should care about establishing trust among, especially among allies. I mean, if you are negotiating with enemies, you have to deal with trust also in some way or another, calculus-based trust, as we say in negotiation literature. But to have what happened, I think the United States must reconsider, must radically reconsider its policy in the area, and must move in a different totally direction for win-win and for the sake of everyone in the world.
And sir, also the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is visiting Israel, and he discussed also the Israeli war in Gaza with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday, and this visit comes days after Israel's aggression in Qatar. So how do you see the significance of this visit?
Actually, as I have said, the United States foreign policy must go through reconsideration and should go for more balanced situation. And we can remember all the time what President Carter did for the area and for the entire world by fair-minded mediation. And I think that Mr. Rubio and others, people who are responsible in managing the American foreign policy, there should be a call for reconsidering what's happening for the sake of everyone and for the sake of peace in the world.
So, sir, also there is a flotilla bound for Gaza carrying aid, and pro-Palestinian activists set sail Monday from Tunisia after repeated delays aiming to break Israel's blockade and establish humanitarian corridor to the Palestinian territory. What's your take on this?
Yes, I think that if you can listen to the activists who are really managing these trips, they say that they are even criticizing their Western governments by saying if our Western governments did not move in the right direction and take decisive action, let us take the matter in our hands. And this is what I call the growing and increasing role of grassroots people all over the world to support a Palestinian state, and moreover, and the more important, to make a stop on this stupid war, to make a stop on starvation, to make a stop on the genocide and the ethnic cleansing that is going on, and everyone is watching for it. The world should move in the right direction to prevent this first, and then see a Palestinian state.
So, Dr. Hassan, ahead of the summit, Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani urged the international community to reject double standards and hold Israel accountable for its attack in Doha. And Al Thani warned that other Israeli hostile acts threaten the region, but he reiterated Doha's determination to continue mediation efforts with Egypt and the United States. How do you see his stance?
Actually, I think there is a very nice book on negotiation called Getting to Yes, Negotiating Without Giving In. Yes, I agree on this title of that important book, but in reality it should be implemented. This is the spirit of the minister who said that, but I think that this also, there are parallel statements made which could threaten and jeopardize the entire mediation process and even the existing treaties with Israel and the possible future one.
So, sir, what are your expectations for the final resolution of the summit today?
I think the final resolution should be a categorical rejection of the attempts to justify Israel's aggression under any pretext, also to affirm aggressive, to prevent any aggressive action by deterring and by formulating a military alliance force for deterrence. And I hope so. And I also expect that there should be strong condemnation of the Israeli threats to target any Arab country, and to stop, to make a quick stop on the hell and the genocide and the starvation and the very wrongful, inhuman policies adopted in Gaza now.
So, sir, Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abul Gheit described the Israeli aggression on Qatar as treacherous and a cowardly act, warning that silence paves the way in the face of a crime. He warned that silence in the face of a crime paves the way for more crimes. So, yes, how do you read his statement?
Yes, of course, it is agreed upon state. We all agree on what Mr. Abul Gheit said, but we wanted to move from this strong condemnation to real action, and he is also responsible for mobilizing the Arab nation and the Arab League to do a better role and a stronger role, and to go for complicated diplomacy to let us see something on the ground. The whole world is watching for the Arab system to invigorate itself and see some kind of actions on the ground rather than strong statements.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of International Relations, Al-Azhar University. Thank you for being with us. And as we said, that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi arrived in Doha on Monday to participate in the Emergency Arab Islamic Summit. and leaders arrive in Doha to participate in the summit, and the emergency summit will probe Israel's attack against the state of Qatar that took place on September 9th. The president's participation stresses Egypt's full solidarity with Qatar and its constant position in backing Arab brothers facing Israeli aggression that violates all international pacts and norms. President Sisi's speech at the summit is expected to review Cairo's vision towards Middle East developments and reiterate Egyptian foreign policy constants in support for regional security and stability. The president is also expected to hold bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the summit over fostering joint cooperation and coordinations. And as we said, that leaders of member states of both the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation are now arriving in Doha to pile pressure on Israel after its unprecedented strike against the Palestinian movement Hamas leaders in Qatar. The strike came despite Qatari mediation efforts to seek an end to the conflict in Gaza Strip. Ahead of the summit, Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdurrahman Al Thani urged the international community to reject double standards and hold Israel accountable for its attack in Doha. Al Thani also warned that other Israeli hostile acts threaten the region, but he reiterated Doha's determination to continue mediation efforts with Egypt and the United States. Well, dear viewers, that's all for our special edition today. Stay tuned for our special coverage to the Emergency Arab Islamic Summit currently taking place in Doha.